Welcome everyone to Movies and TVs on the Ball. Steve-O is here. I am letting you know that we're a month and a couple weeks away from Halloween. Boo. And I realized today is Friday the 13th. So I wanted to take this moment to ask you guys in sort of a ranking of what's your top favorite Friday the 13th movie. So this is for all my horror people out there that are so interested in horror films. I counted all 12 films. Ironically, there's not a 13th film that's out, but I'll have to say that the one that I like the most is probably Friday the 13th 10, Jason X, because there's that scene in Friday the 13th where he goes to a hologram room and he says, and the woman that's being chased says, activate, activate Crystal Lake site at 1980. And it turns into Crystal Lake, and there's these two girls, hot girls, that are like, hey, Jason, you want to smoke some pot and have premarital sex? We love premarital sex. And I love that scene because it shows you that they're playing along with the tropes of Friday the 13th, because it's pretty much, after watching all 10 of these films, it takes a group of teenagers. They're on their way to Camp Crystal Lake, and then there's Jason. Well, the first one was Jason's mother, who is all about, the fact that the camp counselors didn't uh, find out that, or didn't help her son when he was drowning. She went on a revenge for it, and it wasn't until Friday the 13th Part 2 where we actually got to see Jason come in, and then Friday the 13th Part 3, which was the Part 3 in 3D. And I remember that one. And then, of course, I liked, then there was Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which I think was originally their plan to end it, but as we all know, final really means four. And the other ones were New Beginning, Jason Goes to Hell. I like that one because that one was the ninth one, and it was sort of the only one I think that took place in the 90s, or was released in the 90s, and which was kind of ironic. And then you had Jason X and Jason Takes Manhattan, which was probably the biggest disappointment for, I think, Jason fans, because you spend 30 minutes of the half the running time of the film on a boat, and then Jason spends like little to no time in Manhattan. So when I heard that, I haven't seen it yet, I own it on DVD, but when I heard that Scream 6 was going to take place in New York, I'm just hoping, like, just please, as long as Ghostface is not on a boat, I'll be happy. But, then I did think Friday the 13th, the newest one, the 12th one, was alright. It was sort of late 2000s. I think it came out in like 2009, so it was late 2000s, and it was sort of kind of a I guess the film was sort of trying to be a remake and try to reboot, and I think in some ways it sort of lost what the original one had, but I think it's kind of in the same way they did Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, where they really showed Freddy Krueger getting tortured by the townspeople. I think they really dealt with sort of the, we got to see them not pay attention to Jason. But and then one of my favorite ones is Freddy versus Jason, which is one of the best horror two iconic horror franchises of the 80s coming together, and they came together in a cohesive storyline. The problem I had with Freddy versus Jason is that I was wanting to see more Freddy versus Jason, but they spent so much time with the teens, which theoretically they showed the teens in a lot of the other ones, but I felt like we came to see Freddy versus Jason, and all we got was Freddy versus. We spent all the time with, I think, like one of the Destiny's Childs and John Ritter's son in most of the movie, but when we got to see Jason versus Freddy versus Jason, it really brought something to the role. I would say the New Blood kind of was. I think they kind of brought in sort of the what if Freddy, or not Freddy, God, what if Jason had sort of a kind of Jason versus the psychic? That was sort of the thing that I think they did with it. Um, and then of course Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D was in 3D, and I felt like they really sort of brought in the 3D effects of the 3D effects of the horror genre, but it was done so, it was done in the 80s that the 3D really was, it was the red and blue 3D kind of thing. But I thought it was pretty good. There was this, but there was a lot, but the films I've noticed after watching all 13 films, or all 12 films, excuse me, all 12 films, is that the film doesn't really focus on Jason that much. It focuses on, here are the cluster of kids who are here are the cluster of kids who are basically the they're not they're not evil, but they're so unlikable. I think that was kind of the biggest thing, because I think Friday the 13th Part 3 had, I think his name's Scully or Sully, and he was sort of this overweight kid who kind of got made fun of, that he was sort of the he got made fun of. He got made fun of, and he wasn't sort of interesting. He was kind of that like guy you're just like waiting for to kill. And that's the other thing too, is there's a lot of characters in the Friday the 13th films that are the teenagers that you're kind of like they're not interested. They're not. If you look at another franchise I've talked about is Scream. At least with Scream, you had memorable character. Memorable. You know who Sidney Prescott is. You know who Dewey is. You know who Billy Loomis is. You know who these characters are. They stuck with you. But I could probably ask you who was the third girl in Friday the 13th Part 4, and you'll be like, I don't remember. Because I feel like Friday the 13th, we're here to see Jason's, Jason's kill count in the Friday the 13th films. We could care less about the kids, because the kids are all more focused on trying to get laid and trying to be, goofing off and skinny dipping, and but they're not interesting enough that we're like, oh no, we're more rooting for Jason than we are, rooting for them to survive. But I was just kind of, since it's Friday the 13th and it's getting close to Halloween, I was just, what's your thoughts on the Friday the 13th film? Did you like Jason Goes to Hell, where they had a Jason was being stalked or sought out by Jason or Winston Duke, who was a bounty hunter, and he was best. The guy that played him was best known for the Disney television series, The 100 Lives of Blacks, 100 Lives of Black Jack Savage, and he was in Angels in the Outfield as well. Or no, he wasn't. Anyway, he was in there. But he played a bounty hunter who was looking for Jason. And I do remember they go to Crystal Lake, and in that film, Jason is really more of an icon than he is in anything. But I was kind of asking, what's your thoughts on Friday the 13th franchise? What's your favorite Jason movie? Did you enjoy, was your favorite one part 2? Was your favorite one New Blood? Did you like the fact that he took Manhattan in 7? In 8? What's your thoughts on Friday the 13th part as a film series? Who's your favorite horror icon? Let me know in the comments below. Or what's your favorite horror film? What's your favorite Jason film? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, see you at the movies, and happy Friday the 13th. Jason, peace.